Hey everybody, Forever Trade 2 here. I figured I'd tell you my Sega Genesis story. It's not as long or extensive, but I'll try to remember bits and pieces that I remember from, well, memory, not to be too redundant. Anyway, the I did already mention my original Genesis story a little bit in my SNES story, but just to recap, my brother got a Sega Genesis in the Christmas of 1991 with Sonic the Hedgehog packed in, and we've played some games and we shared our Genesis, or his Genesis, as well as I shared my Super Nintendo for a long time. But his Sega Genesis was not of my own; it was his. But I eventually did get my own, and the story is not as interesting or as in depth as the other systems I've mentioned in this channel. So around the year, let's see, I ran into an old high school chum. His name is Michael. I won't mention his last name. We were hanging out for a long period of time. We were both jobless. We were trying to find work. I mean, there were times we did find some things through temp services, but his little ass fucking didn't like the job, so he's like, dude, let's quit this place and then they'll find us something else. I said, the economy is not in any way, shape, or form sound or stable enough to be doing that, Mike. We need to keep this job, because if we keep it, they'll hire us in and then we'll get benefits and everything will be good. Things take time, and we'll find our way around this, and not every job's going to be fun. I mean, his ideal job was fucking McDonald's or Burger King, for fuck's sake, for whatever reason. Probably because of discounted food. The guy had a food addiction problem. Now, at that time, I mean, he weighed about as much as I do now, but his metabolism is a lot better than mine. But health things aside, one day he came over. I want to say this was around 2001. I want to say May of 2001, because I remember it was starting to get warm, but not like real warm like it is during the summertime. And he had a box in his hand. And I was like, hey, Mike, what's going on? He's like, hey, I want you to have this. I'm like, what is this? And he's like, well, open it and find out. So I opened it, and sure enough, it was a Sega Genesis Model 2. I was like, why are you getting me this for? He's like, well, I noticed you don't have a Genesis, and I know you have some games for it, but I figured you'd want a system to play them on, so I figured I'd give you mine. He's like, I don't play it anymore. And he's like, I'm more into the new stuff that we have now, and at the time, PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox were a thing, and he was interested in the PS2. And I said, well, what do you have to play? He's like, well, I'm still going to keep my old Nintendo, because I still play that once in a while, but I don't play my Genesis anymore. And he's like, and I can't think of a better person to own this system that would take good care of it and use it and enjoy it as much as you. And I was flattered by that comment, because I do take care of my things, and I treat my game systems like if they were my babies or my kids. I make sure they're clean and they work properly, and use them, so forth, and whatever. I mean, nerd talk. So he gave me my Genesis, and I hooked it up. It worked fine, no problems, and I enjoyed it. And I got to play a lot of the games that I had on it. So that's when I got my Genesis, the Genesis of my own. And well, but there's more to this story. Because, as you know, the Genesis had 3 different models. They had the Genesis 1, or Model 1, which is referred to as the high definition model. And my friend Dan, I have 2 Dan friends. Let's just call them Dan H and Dan S. Some of my best friends when I lived in Michigan. So I'm trying to remember. Oh, that's right. Dan noticed I had a Genesis too, and it was around, I want to say 2010, 2009, around that time frame. I don't remember entirely. I just knew I came home from work and I was exhausted, and he asked me if he can come over after work and chill for a little while, and I said, fuck it, sure. Let's hang out and have some fun, talk, maybe grab a couple brews, whatever. But then again, I thought, well, he lives a little far away from here, so him drinking would not be a good idea. But I was interested in drinking, so I bought myself a couple brews. Hurricane High Gravity, for those who want to remember me when I drink that shit. I mean, I still drink that same kind of beer, High Gravity, as you've seen in my streams. But they don't sell Hurricane down here, at least not in the strong form, because right now uh, Oklahoma's going through a transition where they're going from 3.2 beer to buying stronger beer in Oklahoma starting next month in October. So I'm happy about that, because that way I can just go to the store, get it cold, bring it home and drink it. I don't have to throw it in the freezer for a couple hours before a stream and worry that it's going to be cold or not, because my freezer kind of it works great actually. It's just well, when it's filled with vegetables and stuff that I consume for dinner, there's not much space. So there's that. Oh, and chicken too, of course, because I enjoy chicken. Both my diet during my dinner time consists of either leg quarters that are boiled then baked, and then chicken breast, and then a vegetable like broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, corn, asparagus, Brussels sprouts. I love vegetables. I'm a veggie whore. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a vegan by any standards, no, but I do love my vegetables, and I always have them with my protein, which is, well, chicken. But there's not much space to put the fucking beers in, so I gotta. Then I got my ground freezer, which I put other things in there that have, like if that freezer's full, the other one we use for things that will either expire quicker, because for some reason if you freeze things they last longer. But that is, I'm going left field with this shit. Sometimes I use the ground freezer to freeze my beer too. What I do is I grab a bag from a store, and then I put the beers in the ice that I get from the store, put them in there, wrap it up so it's nice and airtight, and that usually cools them off within 30 minutes or so. I've been doing that for the past 2 weeks, and it seems to work okay. But anyways, around 2008, or 9, 10, one of those time frames, like I said, older you get, the more cuckoo you become, and all your memories become, well, fried remnants in your brain. He's like, I have something in the car for you, and I was like, okay, what is it? He's like, it's a surprise. And I'm just like, okay. I like surprises. I don't know about you guys, but I like surprises. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just wait till the end of my shift, and when we get to my house, he'll give me this surprise. So I was excited. So we first went to the store, bought some brew, and he's like, I don't want you looking in the back seat because that's where it is. And I was like, okay, fine. So we get to my home, and he's like, close your eyes. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This better be something good. He tells me to close my eyes, hold out my hand. So I'm like, okay. And I'm like, if it's like a snake or a spider and I get bit, you're fucked. And he's like, no. And he puts it in my hand. I feel it. I know it's flat. At first I thought it was, it's a game system. And I open my eyes, and sure enough, it's a Genesis Model 1. And I said, what's this for? He's like, I have 3 of these. I was given 2 recently. And I was like, and he's like, I know you use a Genesis 2, which has fake sound. And I know how much you like the Genesis sound when the games have good soundtracks. Unlike some of the games out there made by EA, which has a Genesis twang that I can't stand, that makes me want to blow my head off with a sawed-off shotgun. Yeah. Anyway, he failed to notice something. When he gave me it, it wasn't the high-definition model. In the high-definition model, sorry, I keep looking at the monitor. The high-definition model is the one with the pure Yamaha 2612. If around the top, if you don't see the high-definition graphics, it's not the real model, the real sound model. If you don't have that, it's the faked sound, because Sega found a way to fake the sound to where it sounds almost like it. But if you're a soundophile, like I can be it once in a while, you notice there's a lot of garble. It just doesn't sound right. It sounds garbly and a bloody mess, but you really have to listen to it to understand it, unless you just know by listening to it that something is not right. But he gave it to me, and I was grateful. I said thank you. Now, at the time, I didn't know this information that I just expelled here. So I got it, and I hooked it up and everything, and it worked great. And I thanked him for it. And I noticed too, because when I was playing one of my emulators, I think at the time I was using Gens or Gens Plus. I noticed the sound was nice and clean, and I'm like thinking, well, that's the emulator. But then, and I use headphones when I play my ROMs because that way I get the full experience. But then, I put my headphones in my Genesis One and listened to it, and I'm just like, this sounds like shit. It sounds garbage. But I didn't tell Dan. I didn't tell Dan the difference because he didn't know. It wasn't until I did some research on the internet that I found out what the different models stand for, what they have in them, and this and that. You can get what's called it's like a sound amp of sorts. It's a chip that you can solder on your board or solder a piece onto the sound output on the Genesis to give it that pure sound that it's known for. Problem is I suck at soldering. I've tried so many times. I've had friends that offered to help me, but I'm not going to send shit to somebody that's a few states away and then not know when I'll get it back. I'm just anal about that kind of thing. I don't know about you guys, but I sure as fuck am. I'm just like, God damn it, I want my shit back so I can play this and that, such and such. Yeah, I can do it on an emulator, but come on. Where's that motherfucker? There it is. I do not want to play a goddamn game using this piece of shit. Yeah, I just knocked it off its cord. Let me put it back in. I do not want to play games using this piece of shit. Okay? I don't want to use a keyboard either, because keyboard on emulators don't work, especially games of Contra, if you want to know what I'm talking about. I do not want to play retro games with this piece of shit. Okay? In my SNES controller, the B button is sticking just like it happened in the last one. I'm going to take it apart and clean it, obviously, because it's a simple fix. But goddamn, it's like, this D-pad, this D-pad can go fuck off. It's not suitable for retro gaming. I'm sorry. And I know there's some people that actually use the analog. Why? It's not. I don't feel in control with an analog controller on a 2D game. Analog's made for 3D gaming, or if you're playing games like Robotron. So I was still grateful for the gift, of course, because I'm not one of those people that they get something they don't want, or they get something that's not as good as originally planned and piss off about it, because there's a lot of ungrateful people out there that people buy them things, especially during Christmas, those spoiled brat kids, when they get something and it's not the exact thing they want. They should be grateful that that person thought enough of them to get them something on Christmas. And that's a problem we have a lot, especially today. If someone actually spends some money on me. I mean, when I was a kid, I will admit, there were a couple times that people bought me things and I didn't like it. Like, someone bought me Gangsta's Paradise single, and I hate rap, as most of you know. I like some of the old stuff, and that song's not bad, but I heard it enough times at that point where I just didn't want to hear one lick of it anymore. So the person traded it in for a something from Skid Row. It was something off of that movie. I want to say it was The Stand or something by Stephen King. I don't know if it was that movie or The Prophecy. I don't really remember. It was a Skid Row. If y'all know what I'm talking about, you know what to do. Right. So, leave a comment. I ain't saying, get this dick or anything. I'm just saying leave a comment. And I kind of wish I could go back in time to that part and slap the fuck out of that kid I was, because that was just disrespectful and bullshit. But it was at a time in my life where I was just cope, and I should have just took it and went home, and sell it to a friend or something, because I never, I wouldn't open it. But I was very strongly opinionated in what I liked back then, like more so than now. You think I'm bad now? You didn't want me to know me as a teenager. Anyways, I'm getting off kilter here, but I thought I would add some more trivial things about myself around this, the time frame and whatnot. So the reason why I keep looking that way, because my Genesis is over there, and usually when I look at a game system, I can usually explain things better. Right. So, where was I going with this? I thanked Dan, and I drank that night, and we played some Streets of Rage and things, and I used an emulator to test the sound. The sound was great, and then when I listened to it, something wasn't right, and then I did research, found out that the board was a VA03, I believe, is the name of the board, and that board symbolizes the faked sound. Bit disappointed, but I didn't give up hope, because recently, this was about maybe a year ago, about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, I was talking to my friend, Some of you know him as Drunken Punk. He's been my friend for, gosh, we've known each other since 2007, so it's been 11 years. We've been off and on. You know, we had some falling outs, but most friends do. And then we always come back and say, hey, let's let the shit go and let it get back to good. You know, that's how men do things. And we're both at a point where we just, you know, we can chill and whatever. Anywho, he was telling me that there are some game shops near his area that he can look for me a Genesis, a high-def model. And I told him to go ahead and look if you want to, and then let me know. I can probably PayPal you the money, and if you could send it to me, that'd be great. He never got back to me on that, and that's okay, because I was looking. And then one day I was on Etsy. Etsy's a... some of you who probably follow Chris Chan's bullshit where he was selling Transformers and I think Sonichu merchandise that he was making. I swear to Christ, that man has problems beyond the realm of life. Anywho, that's besides the point. Point was, I was looking on there, and sure enough, I found one. And then they wanted $20. They found it in their closet or in storage or something like that, and they were just willing to give it up for $20. And they said, we don't know if it works or not. We're selling it as is. You know, you may have found yourself a bargain if it works. And so I went ahead and bought it. $20, free shipping. Yeah, I know. It didn't come with any wires. That's okay. I have them. I have, gosh, a lot of wires in terms of connections. I have no shortage of them whatsoever. So they sold as is. No controller, no game. Just the console itself. $20. And I was like, that's a steal. And if it doesn't work, I could probably take it apart and see what's not making it work. Because I can usually make a system work if I could find out what's wrong with it. But sure enough, I got it within a week after that point. And it was the high definition model, set it on the top. And I hooked everything up to it. I use AV cables. I don't use RF. Because RF just annoys me a lot. Especially with the sound department. It's like you don't notice these things until, you know, you get a little older and a little understanding on how things work, and RF is just it's no go. I'm fine with composite connections. I used my AV cables I bought many years ago and plugged it all in, put in Streets of Rage 2 because that's my jam right there, and it's got great music. And I'm excited about Streets of Rage 4. Yes, I've seen the trailer. I don't like the look though. Looks like a Flash game. I know that's a little harsh, but regardless of that, I will still get it because I'm a Streets of Rage whore. And even if it sucks ass, I'll still play it and beat it. Hey, Double Dragon 4, regardless of what many people say, is a shitty game. To me, it's a bullshit ROM hack, lazy excuse, and I don't call it Double Dragon 4. I call it Double Dragon 6. You know why? Super Double Dragon was Double Dragon 4, and a lot of people are like, well, that's not canon. Okay, then why was the follow-up called Double Dragon 5? It's Double Dragon 6. Fuck off. Anyway, Arc Systems should be ashamed of themselves making that game. And the River City game that followed was also garbage. River City Brawl, was it? Something like that. I pirated it because I'm not going to support a company that makes a terrible game. Because I played that one for about 3 days and realized it wasn't anything I would enjoy and deleted it. That's why I pirate. I don't pirate to keep a game. No. Because people used to make things... See, I'm going on a tangent now. I'm sorry. People don't put demos out anymore for games. Yeah, some companies do, but not very many at all. They're just like, oh, here's a game, here's a video. If it looks good to you, buy it. You know, or listen to other people's opinions. See, I don't do that. I don't listen to other people's opinions because they differ from mine. Hell, one game that's always listed as overwhelmingly positive are shitty games like Blood and Bacon and Hotline Miami. No. Both of those games they're garbage. Nothing I'd be interested in. And all the games that are actually decent or good are given either mixed or positive. The Steam community can go suck my fucking dick after I've got done jacking off. I can suck the cum crusties off my dick. Anyways, I got the Genesis 1, hooked it all up, played it. Beautiful. I put in my headphones, listened to it. Oh, the crisp, clean sound. It's like night and day. It really is. And that's the Genesis I've been using. I bought a multi-cart off of Wish.com. It comes with 112 games. Unfortunately, about maybe 3/4 of the cart works. Some of them have some region protection. And there's two kinds of multi-carts out there. There's ones that's considered the bad and one that's actually considered decent. Or good. Like decent, good, and then there's the bad, and then there's the bad one. I have one of the bad ones, unfortunately, but it only cost me $3. Free shipping. Because Wish is like that. It's a bunch of Chinese cheap crap, but it works. And what you should do if you ever buy a multi-cart from there, this is just a suggestion, is on the bottom, since those PCB cards that they use for the Genesis, they do fit the Genesis, but they're very rough, and it can actually bend your connectors. Sand the bottom of them with some fine or medium sandpaper. That's what I did with mine, and they go in and out, no problem. I have Mega Turrican, Streets of Rage 3, Musha, and the multi-cart. I all bought from Wish for under $5 a piece, and they work just fine. But just, if you buy one from there, sand the bottom of them. Also bought Wily Wars, but it doesn't have the save function in it, and the game freezes when you get to the first Mega Man anyway. I didn't try the other two because at that point I was just like, fuck this. It freezes when you get to Dr. Wily Stage 1, so it's a very bad repro cart. And all the ones that are considered good are hella expensive. And I'm just trying to save money as a retro gamer, which is hard to do. So that's my mainstay Genesis, is the Model 1 with the high def model. It cost me $20 on SD, and it was a bargain, and I thanked the seller, and I appreciated his business, and he was fantastic. I don't remember his name. I wish I did, because he sold a lot of like sport caps and like jerseys and shit that he had. Like, I don't know if they're authentic, probably not, but they're good quality from what I understand. He's got good feedback and everything. I wish I remembered his name so I can give that to you, that information, but unfortunately I can't remember, because that was the only thing he sold that I was interested in. But I had great times with the Genesis. Like I said, I do lean a little towards over the Super Nintendo, because that was my childhood and adolescent friend, you know. When I didn't have anyone to hang out with, that was there always, and I would just pop a game in and have a good time. And to this day, I still pop in the games. I even bought a multi-cart for my Super Nintendo. It has 100 games in one, and it has some classics. And if I could find a ROM of it, I'd like to show it to you. Unfortunately, if there's games by Konami or Nintendo, I can't show those to you, because they've been harping on my channel for copyright infringement. So, that's it. I threw in those little extra tidbits of certain conversation pieces just to make this video go a little longer, just to give you an insight on some things in my life. I know it's not all that exciting. I will probably do either my TurboGrafx or Sega Dreamcast story next. Those are a little bit more involved and more aspect. I don't have any more like interesting stories on the Genesis like I did with the Super Nintendo, like when I went to Skips and was able to rent porn at 15 or 14. But, you know, I had some great times on the Genesis. Hell, you know what summer of 1997 consisted of for me? That summer? The Revenge of Shinobi. I bought that game in June of 97, and I got it for $10. And it came a box and book complete, and it's the unaltered version, because there's two of them. There's one that had Batman and Godzilla in them, and I guess they had some kind of lawsuits or cease and desist or whatever, so they had to revise the game to not have Batman and Spider-Man and Godzilla. They made the Godzilla character a skeleton dragon thing, and then they changed Batman and Superman. And I think Arnold Schwarzenegger was in there too. He was a big buff guy that looked like, and he threw stuff at you. So they took all that out, probably because lawsuits or cease and desist. I haven't looked too much into it, but if you know more of that information, you are well within your right to comment and correct me, or give me more insight on what happened and why that was revised, if you know the information. I hope it proves credible. I'm sure it will. I mean, there's no reason to lie. A lot of people like to lie anymore just to get their way. Yeah, so I had a good time with the Genesis a lot. I keep repeating that, but I will try to upload a video of the games that I spent the most time with, the games I started with, because Sega is not as banhammery as Nintendo is, obviously. But I'll try to get that uploaded tonight. I can't promise because I got some things I have to do this evening, so it may have to wait till tomorrow. But I hope you enjoyed the story for what it's worth. I hope you are having a kick-ass Labor Day weekend. As for me, nah, I'm just sitting around and doing pretty much nothing. That's my life for you. Anyways, you all take good care of yourselves. Get drunk, have sex, get high, fuck off, and just have a great time. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the story for what it's worth. I am Forever Archer 82. Signing out. Have a good one.